Is there a major Ghostbusters Afterlife plot point hidden in one of the new Fright Feature Ghost figures from Hasbro? We'll talk about that today as we review the Slimer, Muncher, and Stay Puft figures on this episode of Geek Dad Life. Hello everybody and welcome to Geek Dad Life. It's your host, Jay Glatfelter here. I have reviewed just about every Hasbro Ghostbusters release so far and intend to review more. So if you like this video and want me to do more, hit that like button. And if you want to see when those episodes drop, click the subscribe button and that bell icon. After patiently waiting well over a year, the Ghostbusters Afterlife merch onslaught has begun, with a wide variety of Ghostbuster toys hitting shelves at Targets and Walmarts across the US. Hasbro has made a concerted effort to include the original classic Ghostbusters characters alongside the new characters featured in Ghostbusters Afterlife. And the same is true for these three main Ghost release for the Ghostbusters Afterlife Fright Features line. We have two classic 84 characters, Stay Puft and Slimer, and the one new character featured in the trailer, as well as a lot of merchandise, Muncher. The packaging is more or less the same of what we've seen so far for the Ghostbusters Afterlife main retail releases, with the no ghost and caution tape on the top, as well as the red fin of the Ecto-1 on the bottom. The classic 84 characters get a special Slimer seal on their bubble, as well as each figure getting a nice piece of artwork wrapping around the other corner of the bubble. Now, even though Slimer and Stay Puft are from the first Ghostbusters film, it's more than likely that we may see these characters in Ghostbusters Afterlife as well. One Slimer has been in every theatrical release of Ghostbusters, and then there was a bit of a plot point clue featured on both the artwork and the actual figure of this Stay Puft. So I don't know how much of a spoiler this can be considered, since this is going to be on a retail figure that's going to be everywhere. But still, here's a bit of a spoiler warning before I actually say what I saw on this packaging. So while we have seen the mini puffs revealed in a special clip, as well as now a lot of merchandise, there was one question on, would they actually maybe form into a giant Stay Puft? We talked about it on my live stream Screen Geeks, and it looks like that may be the case, because on the artwork, the action feature of this Stay Puft is that it kind of opens up and you kind of see the spine of Stay Puft. But on that artwork, I didn't notice it before, it looks like a bunch of mini puffs are kind of inside the Stay Puft. And then on the toy itself, you can even see through the packaging that there's kind of little faces and caricatures of those mini puffs. So I know there is discussion on who the big bad will be at the end of the Ghostbusters Afterlife film. I don't necessarily think it will be Stay Puft again, just because why reveal that in a toy before you even see the movie? There's probably another character up their sleeve, but we may very well see a full-size Stay Puft alongside seeing these cool, cute little mini puffs in the film. Taking the figures out of the packaging, they range in size from a little under 4 inches for Muncher, 5 inches for Slimer when his action feature is engaged, and Stay Puft is 6 inches with his action feature engaged. Speaking of those action features, each ghost has its own unique mechanism that changes its appearance. For Slimer, he has a push-down spring mechanism that when you push it down and then hit the little button on his back, he will pop up, extending up his arms, opening up his mouth, and while mine didn't do it every time, the bottom jaw opens up as well to reveal his spines and ribs inside. Muncher gets two features where if you move his arms, a big junk ball comes out of his mouth. So it goes in and out of his mouth. And then on the bottom in his belly, there's kind of this cool translucent rubber, but it's still kind of opaque. But if there's two buttons on the back where you can push up a fire hydrant to see it clearer in his stomach, as well as a stop sign. So maybe unlike Slimer, who sticks to food, Muncher seems to be okay eating just about anything. Stay Puft probably has my favorite action feature, with a twisted spring mechanism that you kind of wind it down like a top and then you squeeze his left leg, unleashing the spring mechanism, where he then stands taller with his spine exposed. You can see kind of dripping mini puffs inside of his belly. And what's really cool too is his hands go from being down, or arms and hands go from being down and then kind of going upright, being like, come on, bring it on. And what I also love is his head stays stationary. So it's a really fun mechanism. It looks really cool when you're actually doing it. So yeah, it's safe to say Stay Puft's action is my favorite of the bunch. The sculpting overall is great. I think they look the part. Slimer looks like Slimer, maybe a bit more modern in terms of his angles and stuff like that in the sculpt, but I still think he looks like that iconic character we all know and love. Same goes for Stay Puft. He looks like Stay Puft and has that more menacing face than the more smiley, friendly Stay Puft that we sometimes get as well. Muncher, I have seen very little of him save for the trailers and stuff like that, but he looks great as well and fits right in with these classic characters that we've loved for nearly 40 years. Paint apps are fairly simple. These are casted in their main colors, green for Slimer, blue for Muncher, white for Stay Puft, with Stay Puft probably getting the most paint applications for his bib and hat and eyes and mouth. Muncher has basically just a few bit of paint applications around his mouth and eyes, and then Slimer as well has some paint around his mouth and eyes. Overall, I really like these first Ghost offerings from Hasbro's main Ghostbusters toy line, mainly because it evokes the feel of that original Kenner toy line for me. The original Kenner line had our heroes as well as kind of upsized versions of the Ghosts, just like these first figures for Hasbro have been, as well as they feature different mechanisms to make them more frightening, which again was a hallmark of the original Kenner toy line, with the fright features, super fright features, the Hollywood Ghosts, as well as one of my favorites, the Haunted Humans toy line, which featured awesome transformations from regular humans to pretty scary monsters. There isn't much by way of articulation. They basically serve their action feature. So really, if you're looking for a highly articulated figure that you can pose in 100 different ways, these aren't for you. These are for the kids, and I think they fill that space really, really well. And even in the poses that they're in, I think they look really great on a shelf. They sit really well with all of the other releases so far, and I think they're a really neat buy. Retail on these so far is in the $10 to $11 range, which is a little bit high, but with the action features as well as just the overall look of these figures, I still think these are well-made toys that your kids will love, and even if you're a big kid at heart, I think you'll really dig these too. So they definitely get the Geek Dad Life buy rating. Definitely check out some of my other videos like this one that YouTube wants you to check out and one of my more recent videos. And until next time, hasta luego and goodbye.